This is the Farm Monitor. For over 50 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by one of the largest general farm organizations, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Bergamy.
Yes, our week just would not be complete if we weren't able to bring you all the latest ag news and features from around the Southeast and beyond. Over here to my left, the legendary Kenny Bergamy and those golden pipes. What say you, Mr. B?
I say we've got another great show coming up. In honor of Father's Day, we catch up with the 2014 Georgia Farmer of the Year, Phillip Grimes, the special bond he and his son share and how their relationship has helped grow the family business. Also, for you cattle farmers, a new, more efficient way of feeding your herd, clean, dry hay. Fence line feeders, a system that seems to work better for animals and their human caretakers. Plus,
well, hey everybody, Ranger Nick. No, what you're looking at right there is not some prehistoric creature. This little fella is actually the result of irresponsible pet ownership, and these guys are getting out in South Georgia, and Georgia DNR is trying to understand their potential impact on the fruit industry, the chicken industry, and other things here. You're gonna wanna stick around for this. That and so much more starts right now on the Farm Monitor.
97%. According to USDA, over 2 million farms in this country, 97% of them are family owned and operated. You know another industry that can say that? I sure don't. So with that in mind, and the fact we celebrate fathers this month, the Monitor traveled to Tifton recently to catch up with Phillip Grimes, a former Georgia Farmer of the Year and a father himself whose whole purpose in life is his family.
I did not grow up on a farm. I started farming with my neighbor when I was 16, and then I married my wife and her daddy farmed, so I started right there with him, and it just grew from there. We grow vegetables, cantaloupes, peanuts, cotton, broccoli, corn. This is a family operation with my son, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, and daughter, and grandkids working on the farm. My son's been on the farm ever since he was a baby, and I'd haul him around in the truck, and he could do things, and he got where he could drive forklifts and tractors, and even at 12 years old, you know. And now he's learning the part of the fertility part and the spraying part and all this that goes along with farming.
Started helping at a young age. I got more involved after I graduated high school. I started working full-time then. When I started full-time, I took on more responsibility as far as taking care of the peanut crop, doing all the planting and spray records for it, as long as spray records for our produce crop.
I didn't grow up in ag. I started farming when I was 22. I got married to Phillip's daughter, and I'd worked on sod farms before then, but never any row crop. Phillip's taught me pretty much everything as far as planting all the way to harvest.
Being a family operation means we get to spend a lot of time with each other, from my wife and my kids to my dad, my brother-in-law, my sister, and their 2 kids.
It has its up and downs, but it's good. You get to learn from everybody, and then now that my son's here and starts helping, I can teach him the ways. He's the same as when I started. You know, he didn't know anything about row crop stuff, and now that I can teach him what I've learned.
Having my kids here means a lot. I can teach them the things that I learned when I was their age, and hopefully they will turn around and grow and want to work on the farm like I'm doing.
The family operation means a lot. You got somebody to take over and take care of things when you need it. They put a little extra work in. It's a blessing to have them to come up and be able to, when I get ready to retire, to take over the operation.
Meantime, the state of Georgia playing host to a special visitor recently as the chief of the Natural Resources Conservation Service, Matt Lohr, spent the day with USDA and NRCS employees. He also got to go on a farm tour where he saw everything from row crop operations to a dairy facility. One of the stops on the agenda, the farm of AFBF President Zippy Duval. Once there, he was able to hear from state officials on various aspects of the industry, something Chief Lohr says is one of the best things about his job.
And I love seeing traveling the area and seeing the different types of operations, from very large-scale dairy farms to seeing farmers that are very creative with how they use pasture rotations to better raise their beef cattle, the operations people use to improve their soil health. So very exciting. As you know, Georgia is very diverse, lots and lots of different types of operations and practices, but they all are partners with NRCS. So it doesn't matter the operation or the type of agriculture, there's always a place for good conservation.
This was Lohr's first visit to the Peach State as NRCS chief. He added that he looks forward to working with Georgia farmers to help conserve our natural resources. Yes, school is now officially out for the summer, but ag education, well, that never really takes a break.
Yeah, Kenny, and recently the Cherokee County Farm Bureau hosted their annual Farm to School teacher tour, which allowed educators from around the area to get a first-hand look at life on the farm. Damon Jones has the story.
Teaching the teachers. It's an idea the Cherokee County Farm Bureau had more than 10 years ago when they started annual ag workshops for local educators. And this year they took it one step further by actually touring some local operations in an effort to promote ag in the classroom.
Today it's all about teaching the teachers how to take agriculture back to their classrooms, and it also incorporates it in all of the standards that the teachers are teaching.
So many of the children have no idea where the food comes from. And so we have to educate the teachers, because a lot of the teachers don't know all there is about food production and whatnot. So we have to educate the teachers first so they can educate the children.
And that's especially important in areas like Cherokee County, where more and more of the population is moving away from the farm.
We are not that rural county anymore that just we live, breathe, sleep, and eat it, you know, and I think it's important that the teachers that are educating the children and their parents and everybody in the community sees that we still have that in our area and they can learn from that to take back to their homes.
While it's one thing to read about agriculture in books or see it on TV, it's a completely different experience getting an up-close look. That's what makes this event so unique, as these teachers got to check out different aspects of the industry right in their own community.
It's that hands-on experience, you know, that's what's so important, to actually be there, see it, feel it, and know all about how it actually happens, and actually see what hard work goes into farmers growing your food, and also, you know, where the clothes are made from and everything.
It's not just the first-hand experience that is valuable to those in attendance, but also the opportunity to speak with people in the industry. They not only get an appreciation for just how hard they work, but also some tips they can take back home.
They don't have to just be a farmer. They have to just know how to grow it. And if they come to the farm and they look around and say, wow, this is in Cherokee County, and if they can do it, I know I can do it too. You know, whether you have a big tract of land or whether you have a small little home garden or a raised bed or a bucket on your porch, you can grow what you want to eat.
Now, even though this might just be a one-day event, just getting these teachers out to the farm could spark an interest that could be passed down to their students.
I know it's hard for the teachers. I know they have a curriculum that they go through and they have standards they have to meet, and lots of things is just by the book and there's not a lot of time. But I hope that they can learn something from coming here that they can slip into their curriculum to make a difference, not only just teaching it, but making an experience too for them.
Reporting from Cherokee County, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
Well, hey everybody, Ranger Nick coming up. I'm checking traps with Georgia DNR to find out about a reptilian invasive species and its potential impact on agriculture in Georgia. Will we find any? Stick around.
UGA Extension was a natural fit for me. I was the daughter of a teacher and a farmer, and we already had an established relationship with Extension, but I didn't know fully what all it involved. So once I dug in more to the 4-H program and the family and consumer science areas, I fell in love, and 17 years later, here I am. One of the areas that I was passionate about as a county extension agent in Bullitt County when I served there was camp. So I really kind of pumped a lot of my time into developing resources and toolkits that counties can find helpful as they bring kids to camp in the summer and develop programs for them in the summer. For me personally, that opportunity to work with youth in a unique setting, outside of the classroom, hands-on experiences with youth, and getting to be creative in those choices and things that you offer youth was what really drew me to Extension and has kept me here for this many years.
Well, speaking of being around for a while, we kind of like our own little professor of adventure, Ranger Nick, who is always on the lookout for you, the farmer and producer. And this month, he is focusing on a prehistoric-like creature that, if not contained, could have some serious effects on Georgia agriculture.
Well, look at this beauty. Is this not the cutest thing you've ever seen? No, I'm just kidding. This is a beautiful reptile, the Tegu lizard, but it's one that is potentially causing a problem here in Georgia. If you're a pet owner and love to have those pets at home, I'm hoping and assuming you're a responsible pet owner, knowing about that thing and how long it's going to live and what kinds of things it needs to be taken care of. However, that lizard has found itself here in Georgia because of irresponsible pet ownership and maybe getting out from exotic species cages. And I want to introduce you to somebody that knows a thing or two about the Tegu lizard. That's John Jensen. Hey, John.
Hey, Nick.
Good to be with you today.
Glad to be here.
Oh, man, thanks so much for joining us. John is an expert in wildlife biology and the Tegu lizards. And John, Georgia DNR believes that this guy is a potential problem here in Georgia. I would look around South Georgia and think this is a beautiful, warm habitat for this guy. However, from an agricultural standpoint and a wildlife management standpoint, we've got some issues. John, what's the problem potentially with this guy in Georgia?
Well, absolutely. This is a non-native species. It's native to South America, so it's adapted for that part of the world, and the animals that are there are adapted to deal with it there. Okay. Our wildlife is not adapted to deal with it, and we're really concerned that it existing on our natural landscape is going to be problematic to a lot of our species, including game species, as well as some of our endangered species, and even farmers have a reason to be concerned.
So are they eating baby animals? Are they eating, what kind of things are they feeding on?
So they're considered omnivores. They eat plant and animal matter. They're not very good climbers, so most of what they're eating is pretty low to the ground. Strawberries would probably be the crop that's somewhere around here that would probably be most impactful for farmers. They definitely love eggs, and so we have a lot of concern about their impact on poultry farms, which are definitely quite abundant in this area.
Interesting.
That we know that they'll take gopher tortoises, hatchling gopher tortoises. They'll eat anyone's eggs. We've got documentation of them eating eggs from alligator nest. So anything that they can reach, they can probably eat.
So being able to understand these guys and study their patterns and their behaviors is going to be really important. And what I want to talk about is that potential impact on the ag fruit industry, the chicken industry. And I want to talk next, John, about what Georgia DNR is doing about this guy and how you're studying it. Because literally, John, how old of a problem is this? Has this been decades or how old?
We actually just learned of this problem July of last year, 2018. But since we've been talking to some of the locals around here, we think this problem has been going on for at least a couple of years prior to that.
Interesting. And here on the Farm Monitor, we're bringing this up and bringing it to your attention to study this. So John, let's go and find out what y'all are doing to study this guy. We'll go there next. Well, what we're looking at right here is a burrow that was been created by the Tegu lizard. You know, they get into burrows and they create their own burrows, according to John. And John, we're talking about this being an emerging issue. Really, within the past year or so, Georgia DNR is starting to study this, and we're bringing it to you now. John, we're standing by a have-a-heart trap.
Yep.
What kinds of things are you all doing to understand this problem and understand this species?
Well, we're trying to figure out, first of all, where all they occur in Georgia. Okay. We've got, you know, about 20 different sightings from folks, and from that information, ideally, they've got a photo that verifies what it is. Okay. And we've gotten quite a few of those. Okay. Then we go to the sites and look for tracks, look for some kind of evidence about exactly where the habitat they're using, and we're setting out traps. in order to learn something about the population, how many there are, what kind of sex distribution there is, while at the same time trying to eradicate these animals. So any animals that we catch, we euthanize. And at this site, we've caught 6 different individuals at this using this burrow, presumably.
Interesting. So you're putting the trap out, and to get these things into the trap, how you baiting them?
We're baiting them with raw eggs. We crack one egg right at the entrance to get the smell there, and then put a whole one in the back.
Okay, eating those eggs and doing those kind of things. And John, we're standing in an ideal habitat, just kind of early successional overgrowth with honeysuckle and wild grape, and this is where they love to live.
That's what we're learning, but we don't know if this is truly ideal. This is just where we've caught them. We haven't caught enough to really say for sure if this is, ideal or not. We do work a lot with the Florida Fish and Game folks who have been dealing with 3 populations of their own down in South Florida and have been dealing with it for a longer time than we have. So we're getting a lot of good information from them. They're using a little bit different habitat there than they are here, which isn't surprising because that's South Florida and we're Georgia. But yes, what we're learning is they seem to like these thicket areas and usually near some kind of burrow, whether they made it themselves or whether they're taking up burrow that some other animal made.
Well, if you're sitting at home wondering, what can I do to help Georgia Department of Natural Resources with this invasive species and impact in a positive way agriculture, John, what would you say?
First and foremost is to report sightings of them. If you see them, we need to know about it. That helps us locate places to potentially trap. Ideally, get a photograph of them. Each individual has a unique pattern, so we can match up photos and see if we're looking at the same animal or different animals from a particular area, so that's really beneficial.
Which is so cool, not to interrupt you, that pattern, like a zebra, that different pattern, you can tell, oh, that's Bob over there, we've seen him before or whatever. Go ahead, sorry, that's cool.
No. And certainly if you're a landowner that has them on your property and you have a way to safely and humanely dispatch of them, we encourage that. We're euthanizing those that we trap. We're trying to reduce and ideally eliminate this population.
Yeah, and it all starts with responsible pet ownership, I think, too. So these guys, if they were someone's pet, knowing how big they get, knowing what they eat, and knowing what kind of care they need is going to hopefully prevent someone from giving up and saying, I'm turning this thing loose back out in the wild. John, I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I know y'all have enjoyed this too. And y'all, you just finished watching the 60th Ranger Nick segment. Can you believe it? You put up with me for 60 segments. Thanks so much. I can't thank you enough. I enjoy this every month. We're going to do another 60. While you're hopping around online, checking out the Georgia Farm Monitor Facebook page, check out the Ranger Nick Facebook page and see what I got going on in my classes. It's summer, a little bit quieter during the summer. We got good stuff going on. And until next time, for the Farm Monitor, John, as I always say, I'm Ranger Nick, reminding you that enthusiasm is contagious. So pass it on. Y'all, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you right back here again next month. See ya.
Nick, thanks so much. Up next, potential help for diabetics in the form of USDA. But first, as we go to break, we hear from one of our newest Georgia FFA state officers for 2019 and 2020.
Hi, I'm Eric Robinson and I'm the president of the Georgia FFA Association. My agricultural background is not like a lot of people's. I kind of took a different road to get here. I actually started playing football because in my family that was a huge thing. But whenever I got hurt playing football, I got to meet my middle school ag teacher, and he got me to come to FFA State Convention. And from there, I got really into agricultural education, about how it is to learn about the agricultural community and how much is really there outside of animals and plants. In the fall, I'll actually be attending the University of Georgia to major in agricultural education. I want a minor in agricultural policy or agricultural communications. I haven't completely decided yet, but I for sure am going to go to the University of Georgia, and I'm going to stay there for 4 years and get my bachelor's, my master's, and then I want to transfer to LSU for my doctorate degree.
To learn more about the National FFA organization, log on to ffa.org.
Rather than have cattle eat off the ground, why not give them their own plate? The hungry herd at UT's Middle Tennessee Research and Education Center at Lewisburg mixes a little feed with hay as part of their diet. But it's not what they're eating, but where and how. The cattle, 200 head in the Tennessee Beef Heifer Development Program, grazed at a fence line feeder, one of 7 built at this farm. At some feeders, there's a concrete base for footing, and the hay is served from a higher point.
The animals are on a good pad, so from the animal health standpoint, they're not in the mud. We know from research that if we get above 8 inches of mud, cattle performance really declines.
Animals seem to like this system, and their human handlers do as well. The farm crew here says it's quicker, cleaner, and safer to feed the animals this way, and you don't run the risk of tractors getting stuck in the mud. This area saw heavy rains in late winter, and it's difficult to feed when the ground is spongy. The fence line feeders prove their worth in the challenging weather. By providing a flat, dry feeding area, less forage is wasted and trampled in the ground, and more ends up in the cows' bellies. And when such large animals congregate, they can injure each other and people. UT Ag Research leaders like the improved safety.
It keeps the producer away from the crowd of cows trying to get to the hay bale, so there's not a chance of getting knocked down by an animal or accidentally spearing an animal with the tractor and that kind of thing, because you're on one side of the fence and they're on the other.
UT's Institute of Agriculture was able to do this construction with a USDA Climate Change Adaptation Grant. Climate change could include more pronounced floods and droughts in the future, and the fence line feeders could prove useful in either scenario.
So obviously in our livestock systems, when we have drought situations, we can't produce as much hay, so we want to see if we can make as much use of our hay as possible. Obviously if we have more floods, especially in the winter months, we're going to see significant hay losses there.
Also, the feeders have been strategically placed around this UT Ag Research Center, near hay barns and watering systems. If you can cut down on waste, save money, and increase production, that's a better way to farm. This is Charles Denny reporting.
Good story. Thank you so much, Charles. And here's another good one. USDA doing what it can to help diabetics.
Yeah, Ray, the USDA's Agricultural Research Service in particular has partnered with private industry to create a low glycemic sweetener that can help diabetics. Pat O'Leary has that story.
Our bodies convert carbohydrates into sugar, but many people, including those with diabetes, need to carefully control blood sugar levels. Scientists with the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Peoria, Illinois, partnering with Cargill, found a way to do just that. Chemist Greg Cote and others with USDA's Agricultural Research Service helped develop a natural sweetener called sucromalt, part sucrose from cane or beet sugar and part maltose from corn sugar.
Sucromalt slowly releases glucose into the blood, much more slowly than sugar or high fructose corn syrup would. And it turned into what they call a low glycemic sweetener, which is something that's still sweet, still has calories, but it doesn't give the big spike or increase in blood sugar. So it benefits especially consumers with diabetes who can't necessarily eat sugar or high fructose corn syrup.
Sucromalt also benefits corn, sugarcane, and sugar beet farmers by creating an additional market for their crops. It's part of a long tradition here at the USDA's Agricultural Research Service, where scientists take cues from industry to develop value-added, agricultural-based innovations.
We take agricultural commodities and treat them either chemically or biologically to get new compounds. What we need is industry to tell us which new materials or new methods might be of interest to them for what applications, what market niches.
Sucromalt is a perfect example. Used in low glycemic food products, it helps diabetics minimize blood sugar spikes. In Peoria, Illinois, for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, I'm Pat O'Leary.
Pat, thank you so much. And as always, thank you for watching the Farm Monitor.
Here's a reminder, for all the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening down on the farm, be sure you check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming and with us here on the show.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week right here on the Farm Monitor.
Be safe and have a great week.